Oh hey, didn't see you there. So I'm really bad at scary things, so I typically avoid things that are, well, spoopy. However, someone told me there's a great anime with the word exorcist in it, but I wasn't paying attention to what he was saying, so I think this is it. I was promised a talking cat and swords.
Blue Exorcist, one of my favorites in the blue genre right next to the Blue Whale, started publication in 2009 and has been going strong since then, excluding the 8-month hiatus that just started.
I always pick the best time to talk about stuff. Next up is my Crystal Pepsi video.
The author Kazue Kato was inspired by a movie in 2005 called The Brothers Grimm, mostly with just that core aspect of brothers fighting monsters together. Eventually she decided that demons and exorcists were going to be the core of the show, and that required some biblical imagery, which she didn't want to avoid because if you're talking about exorcism, you gotta talk about the ways you exorcise things.
I think I missed a few seasons of the Bible. I don't remember this.
Reception was and still is really solid, and sales alone it hit 15 million copies in circulation, even breaking first print records for the magazine Jump Square. Comic Book Bin, a website that reviews, you guessed it, comics, reviewed the first volume of the manga and said it had a lot of potential due to quality comedy and the way the characters interact. Otaku USA said the fact that Ren Akumura was the son of Satan,
we'll get to that,
but still trying to be heroic made the plot seem more interesting and appealing. While the reviews weren't always perfect, About.com saying that the action can be hard to follow sometimes, that was after a lot of, well, positive things in the review. So it's safe to say reception was good, and based on conversations about the later chapters, that is still very much the case.
Personally, Blue Exorcist is one of my favorite manga ever, so let's add that to the list of correct opinions I have. There is Blue Exorcist good, and milk is a real-life defense potion.
The anime had similar positive reception, but with a little bit more story critique, saying that the story lacked a bit of an emotional punch, but that was still very entertaining in its own right. But what's the best sign of success? Side content to milk the property. We got an anime series with an anime original ending, but we also got a sequel that continues the manga, which kinda creates a weird watch order of stopping the original at episode 17 and ignoring elements from episode 17.
I've heard more complicated watch orders, so by me being biased, I get to pretend that isn't an issue.
I mean, the original series was fine, and at the time of Kyoto Saga coming out, which is a continuation, the show is only like 6 years old and still held up really low, so it wouldn't really make sense to redo anything. But it's weird that without background information, you could watch the first series that has a full stop ending, then go to season 2 where just the last chunk of the show is cut off. I mean, they could have condensed the canon chunk of the first season into a movie and just redid scenes that way it would have connected to the manga, but whatever, it is what it is, but we aren't done with content yet.
Most shows just have manga and anime. This one came with weaponry. See, why can't McDonald's do that?
There was a movie just titled Blue Exorcist the Movie, which sounds really definitive, but it's kinda just a side story. Still really good regardless. Also, in the animated department, there were a few OVAs for the original show and one for Kyoto Saga. There's a 3-volume manga called Salaryman Exorcist, which is a manga about the main character's brother, Yukio. There are novels with quite a variety of plots, like Weekend Hero, which finds the characters helping with a charity concert, Home Sweet Home, which kinda serves like a backstory for the main cast. There's Blue Exorcist the Movie, which isn't a movie, it's a book.
So it's just okay to lie to people now? I put that in my DVD player, you wanna know what happened? Nothing! They lied to me! That wasn't a movie!
There's Bloody Fairy Tale, which is the backstory of the main character's foster father, Shiro Fujimoto. There is Spy Game, which actually got partial adapted in an OVA that I didn't mention earlier. Also, can't forget the Blue Exorcist stage play, cause right on. Also, a video game on the PSP, The Chronicle Labyrinth. Using context clues and stuff from how the characters act in the series, it probably takes place between chapter 10 and 11 in the manga, but I never played it. I have it here, but I don't have a PSP. I also can't read Japanese.
I also can't read in general, so there is a lot getting in my way of playing this.
With all that said, let's go into the original medium and go over the first chapter to see how good of a job it does at capturing the feeling it tries to convey. We get our main character in a brawl because he stopped people from shooting crossbow bolts at pigeons.
I hate it when that happens.
And we get shown that this isn't Ren's first time doing something like this. Hard cut to dinner with a group of people where Ren gets lectured for fighting again and not getting a job. A heater flares up after Ren yells.
Oh hey, that number standing in the light, you can actually see the forest shadow over there.
Then you get introduced to Ren's younger twin brother, who is on his way to be a doctor, and well, the contrast that will be explored throughout the series is well established here, but not in a way that it gets explored. Going quicker to fit the fine points, while Ren is getting ready for a job interview, he sees these creatures that no one else can see, and he gets confronted by the pigeon shooter who tries to buy his silence so he doesn't tell anyone he's a pigeon shooter. Talking happens, Ren punches, doesn't go so well. erupts a fire that is referred to as the fire of Satan, and the father figure of the main character shows up.
And gives this person the best Mucinex I've ever seen.
We get the word that there are two different worlds that aren't connected that demons can pass through using certain means like possession. Rin gets told he's the son of Satan, all his power is trapped in his sword, and to never draw it or he won't be a normal human again. Rin says his father isn't his father, to which his father slaps him and tells him he needs to hide from the demons.
I hate it when that happens too.
But due to the emotional weight of the statement that Rin said, his father gets possessed by Satan and tries to drag Rin back into the world of demons. Dad dies, Rin draws a sword, and gets a pretty cool transformation from it and destroys the portal. And then there's a funeral scene, and we get an overall goal of Rin wanting to become an exorcist through this experience.
Oh, the reason why he's the Blue Exorcist is because he realized he wanted to do it at a funeral. He was sad.
All in all, I think the first chapter of Blue Exorcist does an incredible job of characterizing Rin Akuma and introducing the world. The plot develops into something so much more, and this is such a fantastic introduction to the series and a few of the characters that we see. I think the first episode does a few interesting things where Ren gets a job in ruins, which was nice. It added more flavor to his situation, but the first chapter does well as it is. Now before getting into how the anime itself fares, how about some characters? I personally love the Blue Exorcist characters, and the more time with them, the more they change and evolve. But starting off, we have Ren Akuma, the son of Satan that wants to try hard to become an exorcist. There's a great fight for balance between his demonic side and his good, well-intentioned side. Yukio Okumura, he has to juggle his love for his brother and his resentment towards him, and to an extent, his jealousy. There's Mephisto, a character that for a while is really hard to get a read on his intentions. Like, you don't know if he's a good or bad guy, or just a neutral force.
Don't worry, people question my intentions all the time, so I just kind of like pretend that no matter what I do, it was on purpose. How did that shatter? It was plastic. I wanted to see how strong that plastic was.
There's Shiemi, who wants friends for a while in her character arc. Bon, who's a perfect comparison to Rin and ideals, just very different skill sets in the way they go about it. If I were to go on about all the characters I love, we're gonna be here all day. But any prominent character in the series, I adore. They fit their world perfectly, and they also add to how fantastic it is. The other students we see, the teachers we see, it's just such an amazing variety. I could honestly make a video alone on the characters of the show. And the road these characters are in ropes you in just as much. It's a good old classic case of secret society where things exist in everyday life, but the average person doesn't know about them.
Some dude is fist fighting nothing out there. Must be the wind.
For people to see the demons in this world though, they must have a temptate, meaning they were attacked by a demonic being once before. And if you choose, you can be an exorcist and join the secret world where as an exorcist you can pick whatever type of ability you feel proficient in, or whatever, I guess class would be a more accurate word to describe it. It's called a Meister type. There's the Knight that basically uses a sword, Dragoon, they have guns, Tamers who fight using other demons, Aryas which knows the spoken verses to kill demons, and then there's the Doctor which is kind of just the healer.
But I don't see anything about stat requirements in here. Wrong thing.
Going into the anime, it would be a mistake not to mention the openings because they are borderline iconic. The first opening core pride with the fantastic capture of the brief introductions to the characters and their connections. A great display of the variety of Ren. There is In My World that captures the newfound distrust and internal issues that the group is having, but it shows that those troubles are being worked through by the end of the opening. Like, it's a crawl to something more optimistic.
Yeah, I didn't hear any of that nerd stuff. This snowman has eyebrows. Is that the deep writing and like characterization I was talking about?
There's the third opening, which I'm really scared to try to pronounce, but it has such a good flow. This keeps my attention the whole time, and it's so flashy. I love it. And look at this imagery. You don't need to know anything about Blue Exorcist to at least know the dynamic between Rin and Yukio just by how it's displayed here. Anime itself is pretty good. Solid animation, soundtrack, pacing. The only issue is the fact that one of the best aspects about the series is how the characters continuously evolve throughout the series, constantly changing. Like what the characters are like in the later volume, they just really change, and it's great witnessing that change. But the anime kind of ends off of that just starting. That doesn't change the fact that Blue Exorcist is a great watch nonetheless, but it gets so much better after the episodes end. And I would just really like to see that continuation.
I look back very fondly on Blue Exorcist because it was just so enjoyable, it was so fun, but it also had hard-hitting serious moments that made you care about the characters, and those aspects stand out strongly for me. But I have just one question. How do I know I'm not colorblind and that's the Green Exorcist?